This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tonight, missing man. Details of a massive search for a hospital patient who disappeared in South End, Halifax.
Truck toppled. An 18-wheeler flips off an overpass and lands in the lane of traffic below.
And lucky numbers. Meet Nova Scotia's newest multi-millionaires thanks to a winning ticket.
A few isolated thunderstorms diminishing this evening, and then things do quiet down tonight. As for how the long weekend forecast is shaping up, I'll have that for you just ahead.
Good evening. Dozens of volunteers have been searching South End, Halifax over the past 3 days, looking for a man who walked away from the emergency room at the QE2 hospital.
Steve Corkum was last seen early Tuesday morning, and as Blair Rhodes tells us, his family is begging for anyone who might have seen him to come forward.
Search coordinators have taken over one of the parking lots at Point Pleasant Park as crews fan out over the 75 hectares of trees and rocks and gravel pathways. They've been combing the entire south end of the city since early Tuesday morning. That's when 48-year-old Steve Corkum walked away from the ER. He'd been waiting for a bed to open up, and his sister says he stepped away to get some fresh air.
He has no phone, no ID, nothing. He's not a danger to public. He's a very gentle soul, and so, yeah.
His family says Corkum was at the hospital under an involuntary hold following a breakdown, and he should not have been able to simply walk away. A spokesperson for the health authority says they cannot comment on individual cases because of privacy concerns, but that incidents are usually reviewed to see if anything can be learned. Corkum's family is anxious but hopeful.
Anybody with information on Stephen's whereabouts from May 14th, Tuesday until now, any sightings, please report them to the police. Call 911. If anybody has video footage on their homes or their businesses from Roby Street down to the south end at any street there, heading down to Beaufort Avenue.
The searches included dogs and drones and lots of volunteers on foot. His slippers were found yesterday on Beaufort Avenue.
His family loves him. We miss him, and we are hopeful to find him safe and alive, even though it's been since Tuesday morning.
Blair Rhodes, CBC News, Halifax.
A close call on a highway in Halifax to tell you about now. A tractor trailer fell from an overpass near Bedford this afternoon, narrowly missing a school bus. RCMP say they were called to the lower Sackville exit off Highway 102 just after 2 o'clock. Photos posted online of the incident appear to show that the tractor trailer crashed through the guardrail on Highway 101 and landed on the 102. Police confirmed it fell in front of a school bus with children on board, but thankfully no one was injured, including the truck driver. The reason for why the truck fell from the overpass is still under investigation.
Police have charged a driver in Wagmacook after he struck and injured a girl under the age of 10. RCMP said in a release that they were called to the community after 6 o'clock yesterday. Officers learned a child was playing on the side of the road on a non-motorized ride-on toy when she was struck by a Ford F-150. Police say the driver fell asleep and veered across the road. The girl suffered serious injuries and was taken to hospital. The driver of the truck, a 47-year-old man, was charged for failing to carefully operate a motor vehicle. Alcohol and speed are not believed to be factors, according to police.
Police have charged a woman in Antigonish for looking at more than 2,600 patient records that were not related to her duties at the hospital where she worked. RCMP said in a news release that they began investigating after a complaint was made in April. The 30-year-old was charged under the Personal Health Information Act. She is scheduled to appear in court in July.
Nova Scotia has increased the fine for illegal burning during wildfire season in hopes of avoiding any preventable disasters. As of today, the fine is $25,000. No burning is allowed between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. any day. That period is considered the highest risk. Each day at 2 o'clock, the provincial map is updated to let people know what's allowed and what isn't. The province says daily burn restrictions now also apply to campgrounds. The government says industrial burning, such as clearing agricultural land or burning large brush piles, also requires a permit from DNR.
Cape Breton's public school systems are seeing more students from around the globe. Over the past 2 years, there was an explosion of newcomer students enrolling in grades primary to 12. The CBC's Aaron Potty talked to one family about their journey here and how they're adjusting.
Claudia Contreras is happy to be living in Sydney, but she still misses family and friends back in Honduras. Contreras and her family made the move to Canada 2 years ago.
My husband and I were looking for a place to move because we were thinking about the future of our family. Our country is a beautiful country. We have beautiful places, but sometimes our country is unsafe.
Claudia and her sons are now part of a growing trend in Cape Breton. According to data from the Cape Breton Victoria Regional Centre for Education, the number of students identifying as newcomers is 8 to 10 times higher than in the previous 4 years. 12-year-old Claudio Flores says their early days in Canada were a challenge.
The first days, like the first week, was really hard because my English was pretty bad, my pronunciation was pretty bad, but now it's like I've improved a lot.
Both Claudio and his older brother are among the nearly 700 newcomer students now enrolled in the Sydney area school system. Another 180 newcomers in grades primary to 12 are spread throughout the rest of the island. Those figures do not include students coming to Canada as part of a cultural exchange program. 17-year-old Victor Flores says more could be done to help foreign students fit in.
So I think that should change, like try to involve people more in like school activities and like let them know that they're here for a reason and like they can be part of the school.
The Cape Breton Partnership is an organization supporting immigrants on the island.
Children are coming along with parents who may be studying at CBU. That's definitely one part of the trend. But overall, in the CBRM, we know that numbers of permanent residents are increasing each year, and along with that increase goes the numbers of students who are entering the public school system.
Claudia's family is also part of a growing Latin American community in Cape Breton. Their group is nearing 200 people who meet regularly for holidays and other cultural events. Claudia says there's also challenges to living in Cape Breton, such as its lack of housing and employment. But she says the good outweighs the bad.
In Canada, it's more than snow, it's more than winter. Canada has a lot of things to do here. Canada has a lot of benefit for migrants too. And really, I like this place.
While Pedley says more newcomers are putting down roots on the island, it's difficult to know whether or not families will decide to stay forever. Aaron Potty, CBC News, Sydney.
With Nova Scotia going all in on land-based wind farms to reduce reliance on burning fossil fuels to generate electricity, there are calls to do more to protect migrating birds from the spinning blades. As Paul Withers reports, one project is under particular scrutiny.
Here in Wedgeport, the province has approved a new 13-tower wind farm right in the path of migratory birds, and that has raised questions. More wind turbines are coming to southwest Nova Scotia. Bad news for birds, says Tony Millard.
They leave and come into the province through coastal areas like Wedgeport, like Cape Forshue, like Briar Island, and we're talking billions of birds over the years funneling on what they call the Atlantic Flyway. And we're putting more and more hazards in the way with these wind farms.
Environmental researcher John Kearney is an industry expert on tracking birds. He carried out a bird mortality study at NSP's Digby Neck wind farm. It estimated 286 birds were killed in its first year of operation. Deaths plummeted the following year after lighting at a substation was extinguished. On Wedgeport, You've raised some concerns.
That one is particularly important for birds, and it poses very serious dangers.
He's lobbying for a range of measures, including the use of radar that would shut down wind farms if flocks approach.
There's technology available now where that would greatly assist in doing that, and it involves spending some money to do it, but it should be part of the cost of building a wind farm.
When Wedgeport was approved 1 year ago, the province required more monitoring and imposed a unique condition demanding a plan to protect birds harmed by the operations. The developer, Elemental Energy, says it has met all requirements of its approval so far. In a statement to CBC, the company said, "While we have not made any commitments to bird deterrence or other mitigation measures noted by John Kearney, these measures will be considered should monitoring results demonstrate that there is an adverse effect to birds and bats associated with wind turbine operations."
I am optimistic that they're saying that is a sign that they're serious.
A 2-year bird mortality study is another requirement when the wind farm begins operating late next year.
We accept they're coming. We're trying to get collision mitigation in place so we can become world leaders in reducing the deaths of these birds.
The province agrees so far Elemental is meeting all conditions of its environmental approval. Paul Withers, CBC News, Wedgeport.
Jay Scotland back with us again, filling in for Ryan Snoddon tonight in the Weather Centre.
And yet another lovely day. That Ryan's a smart cookie.
Yeah, that's why he's still off, and that's why I was asked to come back, frankly, is when the weather's nice.
You did a great job.
I get the call. I'm back in. But no, not perfect forecast, though, as we look to the long weekend. So I'm hoping to get the ask again tomorrow. I think Ryan's planning another one tomorrow. So I think that sunshine will be, or at least the milder temperatures will be sticking around for most areas. There's a look at our temperatures, our daytime highs from across the province today. Inland areas were low to mid-20s. We did see coastal areas, as expected, a bit cooler. And you may have seen some patchy fog this morning. Maybe not quite as sunny as what we saw yesterday, but for the most part, not too bad of a Thursday. And we do have some isolated showers and thunderstorms that are possible over the next few hours. I'm seeing some bubble up through the valley. Anywhere you see these little isolated showers, just know that a rumble of thunder may accompany those locally heavier downpours, those isolated showers and thunder showers. So keep an eye or an ear to the sky as we look for the next few hours for inland areas, places where it was generally warmer today, as you could be looking at some convective showers and thunder showers, but that risk does diminish over the next few hours. And then as we move into the overnight, just a partly cloudy sky above us, but certainly for coastal areas in particular, we could be looking at some patchy fog and some light drizzle possible into the overnight hours. As we look to tomorrow, most of the province will be looking at a fairly sunny sky. We could see some low cloud where that fog does develop. That could result in a partly cloudy sky along the coast. So you may see a bit more cloud cover in Halifax than you will up in Truro, for example, tomorrow. But for the most part, we will be looking at a fairly sunny sky across the province. And for inland areas, temperatures will be back over the 20-degree mark. I think for coastal areas, some spots maybe closer to 10 degrees. So a big range of temperatures just with that wind coming in from the southeast, having that cooling effect if you're downwind of the water. So here's what you can expect tonight through tomorrow as we look to tomorrow night as we look across the HRM. Just a chance for some fog overnight. And we are looking at maybe breaks of sunshine becoming more frequent through the afternoon to a mix of sun and cloud. And temperatures mid to high teens for inland areas, though, up over 20 for your Friday. As for the long weekend, Tom, Amy, I'll be back with that forecast a little later in the show.
A cliffhanger.
Looking forward to it. Okay, yeah. Thanks so much, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
You got it.
Premier Tim Houston is taking a swipe at the Liberal MPs who represent the province in Ottawa. Yesterday, his public works minister urged the Trudeau government to do what it has twice done in Quebec, fund a major transportation route. In recent years, the federal government has paid $4.5 billion for a new bridge into Montreal. And yesterday, it committed another $1 billion to refurbish a bridge into Quebec City. Houston says Ottawa should be picking up the tab for the work needed to protect the stretch of land that connects Nova Scotia to the rest of Canada.
It starts to look more and more embarrassing for our Liberal members of Parliament in this province to be part of a caucus who is being so unresponsive to such an important issue for the province that they represent.
I really think the provincial government's playing politics with this. The Premier is choosing to attack our federal MPs, the federal government, instead of actually working with them to get this project done. And I think the delay is because of how the province has handled this. They've put politics before people.
Houston has rejected Ottawa's claim it should only pay half the cost of the Chignecto Isthmus work. The current estimate is at least $650 million to shore up or replace dikes in the area.
A familiar face is looking to return to politics. Cecil Clark is back in the running for the mayor of Cape Breton Regional Municipality. He made the announcement in Sydney today. The CBC's Kyle Moore was there.
My name is Cecil Clark, and I'm running to be your next mayor in the Cape Breton Regional Municipality.
After hinting at it for days, Cecil Clark made it official this afternoon. The 56-year-old made the announcement in front of a standing room-only crowd at the Horizon Achievement Centre in Sydney.
A lot of it came down with just fundamental grassroots people coming up to me, asking me if I would consider running, if I was running, how they could be supportive.
The former CBRM mayor lost his seat in 2020 to Amanda McDougall by almost 4,000 votes. McDougall recently said she would not be running for re-election this fall, leaving the mayor's chair wide open.
It's kind of a two-edged sword in that there can be things in your record that people don't like, but there is also a sense of familiarity and a sense that you've already built up some expertise in this. You already know who to call. You know where, you know where how to find things. The learning curve could be not as steep for someone who's held the job before.
Clark was a progressive conservative MLA earlier in his political career and ran for leader of the PC party. He says he will be working at mending any relationships lost between the municipality and the province.
And I know how to work across those political lines. We have significant challenges we have to address, but the opportunities outweigh them, and that's finding that balance, and that's what I can bring to the table.
But Laurie Turnbull says it doesn't matter who is mayor, there will always be a public mentality of Cape Breton versus mainland Nova Scotia.
The sense that Cape Breton is always fighting for its fair share in a province that is fighting for its fair share in a broader country. Those conflicts are going to come up. It's going to happen. It doesn't matter who holds the job.
In 2016, Clark's campaign for re-election involved a container terminal for Sydney Harbour, something that still hasn't materialized. Asked today if he had any regrets during his previous terms.
I spent a lot of time at my desk working at some of the heavy lifting necessary, and one of the things I will do is make sure that I'm out in the community more often to make sure you're staying connected with people. You do all the things for the right reasons, but if it's not seen, then it can have a consequence.
The municipal election is scheduled for October 19th. Kyle Moore, CBC News, Sydney.
A high school footballer from Cole Harbour is one of 3 players who will be packing his bags to go to Ottawa later this month. Jackson Sparks is hoping to make a big impression on scouts and coaches at a national prospects game. Paul Palmeter has that story.
Ready, set, go. It may not be football season, but Jackson Sparks is gearing up for what he says will be one of the biggest games of his life. The 15-year-old grade 10 student will be one of 75 football players from across the country who will play in a top-level prospects game after going through a tryout 2 months ago.
I went in the tryout pretty confident. I played very good at the tryout, and about 3 weeks after that, I was notified that I made the team, and I was very proud of myself.
Ready, set, go. Sparks, a defensive player, just started playing competitive football 2 years ago and has come a long way since then. His high school coach is impressed with how much he has improved in such a short time.
His best attributes are his work ethic and his coachability. He's just, always smiling, eager to learn, and he just puts the work in. That's what I love about him.
Sparks has represented Nova Scotia at national tournaments before, and he made a big impression in the local selection camp. He says he worked hard in the gym over the winter, and now back on the field, he is continuing to work hard as he gets ready to play against the best players in the country. An honors student in the French immersion program at Auburn, as a rookie, he played a key role in Auburn's run to the provincial championship in the fall, and he's looking forward to the challenge of the prospects game.
I'm expecting some very good competition, and I know it's going to be very different from what I have here in Nova Scotia. I'm excited to play against the competition, not only for the experience, but to see where I am compared to the rest of the prospects in Canada.
Sparks is just one of 3 Nova Scotia players selected to go to the Prospects game. The other 2 are Camden Brooks of Woodlawn High School and Curtis Harper of Chester, who plays for Bayview High School. All 3 players are hoping to make a good impression on the college coaches and scouts who will be attending the game in Ottawa. Paul Palmeter, CBC News, Cole Harbour.
If you travel to the U.S. with your dog, there are some new rules coming you need to be aware of. Starting August 1st, all dogs entering the United States need to be at least 6 months old and microchipped to verify they've received a rabies vaccination. As well, they must be accompanied by an online import form from the Center of Disease Control. The CDC says these measures are necessary to protect the health and safety of people and animals. But one Nova Scotia dog breeder says they go too far.
I think the steps are fairly draconian because CDC itself and the American Kennel Club and the vet associations down in the U.S. have deemed Canada rabies free. And for me to go back and forth with Pippin to the States, they don't even look at rabies certificates now. So I think in their attempt the CDC's attempt to alleviate the problem worldwide, Canada is being caught up in these rules.
And I talked to dog breeder Brenda Trofinenko about how these changes will impact the sale of puppies to the U.S. That's our newsmaker just after 6:30.
A couple from Pictou County has 5 million reasons to be happy today. Jill Clausen-Monroe and Wayne Monroe of King's Head were presented with a $5 million check today at the Atlantic Lottery office. They won the May the 11th draw with the same numbers they've been using for the last 39 years. A hospital worker and a car salesman, they say they'll keep their jobs for a short while. Wayne has already gone out and purchased himself a new truck.
GMC Sierra SLT, just loaded to the gunnels. Yeah.
How does it feel to get that without having to worry about payments?
It was nice. It was very nice.
You worry about so many things through life and everything, and now we don't have to.
Clausen-Monroe says she knows one thing is now certain. She'll never have to clean her house again. I'd say there's a ton of things she could scratch off her list.
That's a good feeling, though, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, people gathered to mark a special occasion in East Preston yesterday. It was a birthday party for a woman turning 105 years old.
Liza Brooks was born on May 15th, 1919. She was born and raised in the community, and her neighbors decided to throw her a party at the East Preston Recreation Center. Have a look.
To see someone who I've known in my teens and to be here today to celebrate her birthday at 105, it's amazing.
What does it mean to you to see all of these people come out to celebrate you?
They mean a lot to me.
And you recognize all the faces here?
I sure do. Everyone that's here. I just trust in the good Lord for let me live to see it.
What's your secret to 105?
105. Taking a walk and coming back to the house and having a cup of tea and sitting down by it, still watching TV. And I don't go to bed until 12 o'clock at night. You got to be happy nowadays.
I hope to see you at 106. I hope I'm still around. God bless you. All I can say.
Take a walk and a cup of tea.
I need more tea.
Watch
I think
some
that's
TV.
the secret.
All right, I like it. Congratulations. First quick break on the way. Stay with us.
We have a lot more to come on CBC Nova Scotia News. Cool weather and rain are expected in Fort McMurray over the next few days. It should help slow the wildfire threatening the town.
Ontario's so-called crypto king, accused of cheating investors out of millions, has been arrested after an 18-month-long investigation.
The weather for ducks? Not really. It's nice and dry, but they're enjoying a good swim anyhow. Jay is back next with the full weather forecast. We're back after this. All right, we're heading into that long weekend. Lots of people wondering about the weather.
Yourself included, Amy, I must say.
Definitely.
She's been asking a lot, Jay.
Yeah, earlier in the week, I know on Monday it wasn't looking so great. And then as we look to Tuesday, Wednesday, the trend was looking a little better for the weekend. It's trending back to maybe some damper, cooler weather at times over the Victoria Day weekend. So we'll have to keep our eye on that forecast. Saturday, Sunday, good chance of some showers now back into the mix. Still time for change, just not as much as, of course, tomorrow is Friday. I do like reminding folks that tomorrow is Friday, though, ahead of a long weekend. There's a look at our daytime highs today across the province. Quite a difference from the coast. You can see as that wind was fairly light today, we didn't see that cooling influence pushing very far inland. So it was dramatically cooler if you were very near the water than if you were for inland areas away from that light southeasterly breeze that we saw. Variable at times across the province today, up into the mid-20s in places for inland areas. With a bit of heat, though, we are seeing some isolated showers and thunderstorms that have developed. Where these occur, of course, lightning, locally heavy downpours. Certainly possible. Seeing particularly, that little cell that has developed through the valley there. One to keep an eye on. The good news is that with the isolated thunderstorm risk over the next few hours is that it does look to diminish and things really do quiet down later this evening and overnight. So not going to last too long, but of course, if you hear that sound of thunder, you'll want to head inside to safety. Don't want to be outside as we are getting into our summer season. Just a reminder when thunder roars to head indoors. This forecast model picking up nicely on that chance early this evening of those isolated thunderstorms diminishing, though, quite quickly through the evening hours. As we edge through the overnight hours tonight, I'm not expecting it to be overcast. It will likely be a partly cloudy sky. This forecast model is picking up on some low cloud and some fog, and I do see a chance for some fog patches to develop. Highest for coastal areas. The Atlantic coast is where we're looking at seeing really the highest chance of some fog setting up overnight into tomorrow morning. And then as we look to tomorrow afternoon, I'm not seeing the chance of showers. Maybe as we look to coastal areas, some drizzle in the morning. Through the afternoon, though, I expect breaks of sunshine, a little more frequent inland than what we'll see for coastal areas. So a good mix of sun and cloud for inland areas, but maybe some cloudy periods lingering for coastal areas tomorrow. I think this is painting a much cloudier weather picture than what we're likely to see. And then as we move into Saturday, this is where we're seeing that change for the long weekend forecast. It was looking mostly cloudy, but fairly dry yesterday. The Saturday forecast now has some showers and even periods of rain building in through the day, certainly afternoon, evening for southern areas on Saturday, and a good chance for showers, clouds, and drizzle as we look to Sunday as well. So not quite as nice of a forecast for the long weekend as what we were seeing yesterday. I'm hoping that trend doesn't continue, though, and I'll have an update for you, of course, tomorrow. There's a look at what we can expect across the province tonight. So not overcast by any stretch, just a few cloudy periods developing later this evening and overnight. We'll see a partly cloudy sky. And for coastal areas in particular, we may see some fog patches setting up as well. Temperatures between 5 to maybe as mild as 10 degrees for some areas overnight. As we look to tomorrow, you see a few cloudy periods lingering along the coast, but inland becoming fairly sunny in the afternoon and still quite warm as you get away from that wind coming in off the water, away from the Atlantic coast. Temperatures up into the 20s tomorrow. Will be cooler, considerably cooler, even for some coastal areas, 10, 11 degrees possible for a daytime high. So we'll say 17 is a good number if you're away from the water, over 20. If you're immediately downwind of the water, could be even closer to 10, 11 degrees for some areas. Got that chance of showers in for Saturday and Sunday now, looking quite cool on Sunday, although Victoria Day at this point still looking very promising. I hope to see that trend continue as well. 1 out of 3, better than none out of 3.
Hey, that is true.
Still a 3-day weekend.
So we'll keep an eye on that one. We'll take it either way.
Okay, thanks so much, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
You got it.
Up next, I'll talk with Annapolis Valley dog breeder Brenda Trofanenko about new rules for anyone who wants to take a dog into the United States. That is our newsmaker.
Stay with us. You're watching CBC Nova Scotia News.
New rules are coming for those who want to bring dogs into the United States. The Center for Disease Control says these changes, which take effect on August 1st, are meant to prevent the reintroduction of rabies. But not everyone is happy with the changes. Brenda Trofanenko is a dog owner and breeder. So talk to me about what these changes are going to be, first off.
Right. The CDC will be bringing in changes August 1st, and the changes are that any dog that goes into the States will have to meet certain requirements. It has a huge impact for breeders like myself. Pippin here is a Welsh Springer Spaniel, and she's a rare breed, so the majority of my breeding program is down in the States. Similarly, anybody who shows dogs easily goes back and forth to the States now, doing confirmation and performance events. And then there are individuals who travel with their dogs now. It's more common now to see dog-friendly hotels. So these requirements will have an impact on all three of those communities.
Well, I understand one of them is no dog under 6 months of age can come into the United States. There's a complete ban. How problematic is that if you're, say, selling puppies?
Exactly, because my puppies usually go home anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks, and a good number of my pups are sold to people who live on the eastern coastline. So before, it was not an issue. I would take the puppies down, we would meet up, and they'd go to their forever homes. No breeder, I would think, is going to keep their dog for 6 months, because the most critical time for bonding with the family is anywhere from 8 to 12 months or 8 to 12 weeks.
But obviously rabies is a very serious thing, a very big concern, and the CDC is trying to address that. How do you feel these steps are at addressing that?
Well, I think the steps are fairly draconian, because CDC itself and the American Kennel Club and the vet associations down in the U.S. have deemed Canada rabies free. And for me to go back and forth with Pippin to the States, they don't even look at rabies certificates now. So I think in their the CDC's attempt to alleviate the problem worldwide, Canada is being caught up in these rules.
Well, what kind of paperwork will you have to do as of August 1st?
As of August 1st, you actually have to go onto the CDC site and get a free form and state what dates you're coming down and submit it 2 to 10 days before you attempt to cross the border. Then you have to show evidence of rabies, evidence of a microchip, evidence of a rabies vaccine from your vet, as well as, believe it or not, a frontal and a side picture of a dog, along with all of the other documentation.
So if you're going camping in Maine with your pet, you've got to really plan ahead.
You do. All of this will require planning. And as a breeder, it's going to be significant, because there's always such a narrow window of time to actually breed a dog. And a good number of people here, breeders here in Nova Scotia, do have associations down in the States. We have beautiful dogs and very strong dogs and very competitive dogs. So all of this is going to affect certainly performance and show and confirmation, as well as our breeding plans.
Was there any inkling this was coming?
No, not that I know. All of a sudden it was like boom, because it was the border between Canada and the U.S., particularly going into the States, has been fairly lax. But coming back into Canada, you still have to show a rabies. So Canada's kind of kept on it. But as I said, I think this is draconian. I don't think it will stand personally. I would expect, due to lobbying and that, things will change, but certainly not immediately. I would think it would take at least a good year. And once the AKC, the American Kennel Club, realizes that Canadian entries are not coming across the border, they'll feel a financial pinch. I would then think that they will then start lobbying the CDC.
You're doing some lobbying of your own, I understand.
Well, I am, yes, and I have written, I'm an American citizen as well as a Canadian, and I have written my state senators in Maine, and I have contacted my Congress people. So I'm starting my letter writings and phone calls.
And what kind of reaction has there been in the community? as a result of this?
The dog fancy. There was the Dartmouth Kennel Club just had a lovely show this past weekend, and that has been a topic of conversation because it's going to impact the broader fancy, in many ways.
But there's not much the Canadian government can do, can they?
The government can't do anything. However, the Canadian Kennel Club has come out with a statement, and they are approaching the American Kennel Club and expressing their concern. So the CDC will have no relevance to the CDC, but the AKC may have relevance to the CDC.
All right, we'll have to see how it unfolds.
Oh, exactly.
All right.
Indeed.
Thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
Coming up, an intense start to the wildfire season in Western Canada has many worried about what the smoke will mean for air quality.
Welcome back. In Alberta, rain, cooler temperatures, and calmer winds are helping crews battle a major wildfire threatening Fort McMurray.
But fire officials remain cautious.
Do not get complacent because of the rain. It will take time and hard work to put out a wildfire of this size. There is still an abundance of dry forest fuels in the area, and this wildfire is still active.
4 neighborhoods on the southwest edge of Fort McMurray remain evacuated. The order for 6,600 people to leave came Tuesday as the fire nearly doubled in size, burning nearly 20,000 hectares. The fire continues to burn out of control along the south side of the Athabasca River Valley, less than 6 kilometers from the outskirts of the oil sands hub.
Meanwhile, in northeastern British Columbia, officials say the wildfire threatening Fort Nelson is now spreading to the south and away from the town. The massive fire has grown to almost 130 square kilometers. All of Fort Nelson's 4,700 residents remain under an evacuation order. BC Wildfire says cooler temperatures and higher humidity are expected to help the firefighting effort over the next few days. And in Manitoba, about 500 people remain out of the small community of Cranberry Portage. Officials say the wildfire there was about 80% contained and residents might be able to return this weekend.
The early and intense start to the wildfire season in Western Canada has many concerned about air quality. Last year saw Environment Canada issue a record number of air quality alerts. And now the parents of a BC boy who died last summer of asthma exacerbated by smoke are speaking out about the deadly danger it can pose and the need for better monitoring. Georgie Smythe has the story.
BC's wildfire season has begun, and while there's no wildfire smoke in this South Caribou community yet, people here want to be proactive about monitoring the area's air quality. Knowing what pollutants are being carried into town by fire and smoke is especially important to Amber and James Vi. They lost their 9-year-old son Carter last July to a severe asthma attack, which his parents say was brought on by wildfire smoke.
When I carried him out to the truck, when we decided he was going to the hospital, he kind of looked up at me and said, "No, I don't like the feeling of this." And that's kind of stuck with me, like, because this wasn't new, really. Like, we've been dealing with his asthma for so long that I feel like he knew that there was something else in the air that day.
That night Carter died. His cause of death was listed as a severe asthma attack exacerbated by wildfire smoke. But his parents say his death might have been avoided if their town had better air quality monitors. While they do exist around BC, the closest one to this town is nearly 100 kilometres away. The Vi's want to change that. So with the BC Lung Foundation, they've brought in air quality monitors and have shown the community, including Carter's former classmates, how to build their own air filters. After Carter's death last year, people here are anxious at the thought of more fires and smoke.
We're ready to leave if we have to, but I also have to think about the smoke. And that's what I worry about all the time.
Every year it's just getting worse and worse, and hearing about Carter last summer was shocking. We have kids the same age.
It's going to be, from the looks of things, a very bad, difficult summer, even if we don't, say, get burnt out ourselves.
Wildfire smoke is a problem for the whole country. Fire seasons are getting longer, so smoky skies and poor air quality are persisting for longer too. Places like Toronto, Ottawa, New York and DC were blanketed with smoke last summer from fires hundreds of kilometres away.
That particulate matter is so small that it can get into your lungs and right through your lung lining and into your bloodstream. So it can cause a lot of short-term impacts, a lot of long-term impacts, and especially if you are living with some sort of lung disease like asthma or COPD, it can have some pretty tragic implications pretty quickly.
With wildfires already burning in BC's north, people are anxious to get ready for the fire and smoke that's become inevitable here in the summer. Georgie Smythe, CBC News, 100 Mile House.
Police have released new details about the Sunday arrest of Ontario's self-proclaimed crypto king. 25-year-old Aidan Platursky is accused of bilking more than $40 million from investors. He is facing fraud and money laundering charges.
Investors became concerned when they were unable to access money held by Platursky and came forward to police.
Police in Toronto started receiving complaints about an investment fraud in July of 2022 and say Platursky and associate Colin Murphy were involved in the scheme. About 160 investors have since come forward. Platursky allegedly received more than $40 million but invested only about 2% of investor funds. About $16 million was spent on exotic cars, renting private jets, and vacations. Only $3 million has been recovered. Platursky is out on bail in the custody of his parents.
Officials in Slovakia have released new details on yesterday's attempted assassination of the country's prime minister. They say the suspected gunman acted alone and had, in the past, taken part in anti-government protests. Julia Chapman reports.
Slovakian officials are still describing the Prime Minister's condition as critical. They say he's not out of the woods just yet and he has a long road to recovery. But we do understand that he has gained consciousness. The President-elect, Peter Pellegrini, was able to meet with him earlier today and exchange some words. He said although the Prime Minister was tired after that interaction, he was able to talk for some time. So certainly an improvement in his condition after he had a 5-hour surgery following that shooting. We also know now that he was shot 4 times. There were 4 bullet wounds that were being operated on yesterday. Now, he's not making any political decisions at this time. He is deputizing the decision-making, but officials hope he'll be able to resume his duties in the days to come. We've also had some updates about the suspect who has indeed been charged with attempted murder. Police are very tight-lipped about the details who this man is. They're not providing any information about him other than to say that he was acting alone, that he was radicalized after last month's presidential elections, and that some of the motivations that he has given for this attack were the policies of the government and the backdrop of the media. And throughout the day, we've been hearing from a range of politicians from different political parties who have been outlining what they describe as a really politically tense moment in the country. Some of them have blamed the media for hyping up tensions, but all of them have called for calm, tolerance and acceptance in Slovakia. And they say that they are going to hold a cross-party meeting of all the different political groups in the country to try to come to some sort of declaration to tone down the political rhetoric and turn down the temperature in the country. Julia Chapman, CBC News, London.
Donald Trump's hush money trial in New York is in its final stretch. Today, his former lawyer and fixer faced another round of grilling by Trump's lawyers, who continued to attack his integrity and credibility.
Michael Cohen's testimony could potentially make or break the case for the former U.S. president. Sally Patterson has the latest.
Donald Trump's attorneys have a two-pronged approach when it comes to dealing with Michael Cohen. Firstly, discrediting the testimony he's given so far in Trump's hush money trial, and secondly, trying to discredit him as a witness overall. They've been examining him throughout the day here in New York City, asking him about the testimony that he's already given. They've also been digging into his past and the lies that he's admitted he made both to Congress, to the media, and in fact to judges in cases gone by. They say that proves that he is not a reliable witness and instead is a angry, disgruntled former employee. The court heard a recording played from last year where Cohen is heard saying, "I truly hope that this man ends up in prison. You better believe I want this man to go down and rot inside for what he did to my family." They're trying to prove that Cohen's allegations that Trump knew everything about the payment made allegedly to Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 presidential election to try and suppress negative information just before Americans went to the polls was actually nothing to do with Donald Trump and everything to do with Michael Cohen. Instead, Trump proclaims he's innocent, calling this a witch hunt, political interference at the very highest level. He was joined in court on Thursday by his usual entourage of Republican lawmakers. Here's what they had to say.
This is a made-up crime. No other American in the country would be charged with this type of crime. It's like the Mr. Potato Head doll of crimes, where they had to stick together a bunch of things that did not belong together.
Michael Cohen's testimony could make or break this case for the jury. This is expected to be the last witness so far, as the defense has suggested they won't be pulling up any witnesses of their own. That could change in the coming days and weeks. Sally Patterson for CBC News, New York.
Canada's main stock index managed a slight gain today. Here's a look at where things closed as we head to break. All right, Jay's back with us now. I know all eyes on the long weekend, of course, but pretty nice day in Nova Scotia here for sure today.
Pretty nice. Peek out the window, everything's in bloom. People are mowing the grass.
Yeah.
You know, we're getting there.
And Friday not so bad. Tomorrow not so bad. I think for coastal areas we could hold on to some cloudy periods, but still a mix of sun and cloud is what I'm expecting. Inland areas still fairly sunny, very mild. The weekend, yeah, we've got that chance of showers Saturday and Sunday. Monday not looking too bad. But the way I look at that chance of rain is it just gets us out of yard work, right? So that's the way to look at it. It's still a long weekend for most folks. Chance for some fog and some low cloud in the morning tomorrow. We're not going to see temperatures quite as warm as what we saw today, but still, as you head away from the water, up over 20 possible. Much cooler if you're right along the coast, but otherwise temperatures mid to high teens for the HRM. You head up towards Stanfield, I do expect that temperature closer to 20 tomorrow. And those breaks of sunshine will become much more frequent in the afternoon. And move inland, you're looking at fairly sunny and even milder conditions than what we're seeing across the HRM for your Friday. Tom and Amy.
All right, not so bad. Thanks so much, Jay.
All right, thanks, Jay.
Anytime.
Okay, well, we already met a woman who's 105 years old tonight. She was impressive.
She
Now,
was.
we'd like to introduce you to a 90-year-old sprinter. Take a look at this.
Yes, that is Italy's Emma Maria Mazenga. She's got 5 world records for sprinting, and she's just earned another one, making her the world's fastest 90-year-old woman sprinter. She kicked off her running career at 53.
Now, the key to her success, her training rituals, apparently. She says she runs strictly without socks, and she never wears the same race shoes twice.
The socks have been slowing me down.
It appears to be working for her. That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.